Good morning, Facebook friends. I'm Helen Archontou, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So happy to have you here today. As you know, YWTV is about inspiring and educating our community on important issues. And today I'm so grateful to have Jane Clementi with me so we can talk about the Tyler Clementi Foundation and how it came to be. As we know, a young person who is lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender is very often dealing with harassment, threats, or violence on a regular basis. And studies have shown that LGBT youth are nearly twice as likely to be called names, verbally harassed, or physically assaulted at school compared to their non-LGBT peers. We also know that LGBT teenagers overall are 3 times as likely to attempt suicide as their heterosexual peers. It's critical that LGBT teens receive ongoing support and access to mental health care resources. And I'm so happy to have Jane Clementi with us this morning to talk a little bit about her story, as well as to share about the foundation that she and her husband have created. She is a native to New Jersey. She is a devoted mother and of 3 sons. She will discuss today about not merely the need to accept or tolerate children who come out as LGBT, but to really help them embrace who they are. So Jane and her husband founded the foundation in Tyler's name, and she is a registered nurse by profession. Over the years, she has become a very, very strong advocate for this issue. And although I have a wonderful bio that talks about her story, I'm going to let Jane do that because I know for sure that she can share it better. Welcome, Jane. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And it's a huge introduction to step into, but I'll hopefully maybe try to fulfill your hopes a little bit here. We are very grateful to have a platform to share Tyler's story and share a little bit about the foundation. We did create the Tyler Clementi Foundation in 2010 to honor our son Tyler's legacy and to help put an end to online and offline bullying in schools, workplaces, and faith communities, because that was very personal to us and to Tyler's story. For those of you who might not remember, or who may not have read the headlines in 2010, but Tyler did make national headlines shortly after being cyberbullied in the fall of 2010, when he started Rutgers University, and his roommate decided to live stream Tyler in a sexual encounter with another man, and then post on social media comments and jokes about what they were viewing through the live stream. And I do believe in my heart that the reason Tyler was targeted in that cyberbullying incident was because he was gay, and because of his God-given trait that made him special and precious, but it also made Tyler very different from his roommate. And it was that difference that his roommate used for, I don't know what reason, to make him more popular, more important, more powerful than Tyler, but for whatever reason he used, I don't think he ever considered the great cost that it would be to another human being, to my son, who was very special and gifted and had many gifts and talents that the world will never know. Because sadly, as Tyler continued to read those jokes and comments on social media, Tyler's reality became very twisted and distorted, and he felt very isolated and alone, and maybe even thought that his sexual orientation was something to be ashamed of or laughed at. Because it was at this point that Tyler made a very permanent decision to a temporary situation. On September 22nd, 2010, Tyler did die by suicide. He was only 18 years old. And as much as Joe and I want to go back and change Tyler's actions, we know the reality is that we can't. So instead, we started the foundation, not only to raise awareness around the issues that impacted Tyler, but to create actions and solutions to those issues based on research. And that was always our goal from the very beginning. We started out very small, and we're still small, but hopefully we have a mighty voice. And we are grateful to the media for continuing these conversations, because these conversations are very important, and they don't increase actions of self-harming behavior, but I believe these conversations will reduce the stigma and break down barriers. These difficult conversations around suicide, mental health issues like bullying and harm. So that's what we are, and that's who we are. So thank you for having us on.
Well, the legacy that you've created for your son and how many others have been helped is astounding, quite frankly. I know that your organization has evolved and started to work in different ways. And I know a little bit from your story that you obviously went on a journey yourself after, this experience, and, it impacted places in your life, your spirituality, your relationships, that it evolved. And I think that that's an important part of the story, if you could share a little bit, because I know that, other parents who are, on a part of this journey as well, are could really benefit from hearing, how you navigated and got here.
Yes, and there's many points to the story or my journey. Certainly, for me, I go back to the moment of great pain and loss. So it's all about grief for me, and I would hope that other parents who are on this journey of accepting and celebrating their children do not have to endure that part of my journey. For sure. But yes, it has been an interesting and difficult journey. And I suppose part of the story is that I have 3 sons, as you mentioned, and 2 of my sons are gay. So Tyler and his older brother, James, are both gay. And I think part of my journey initially, in that dark, foggy state when I didn't know how to articulate anything because I was just so numb from my pain, I knew that I wasn't able to help and protect Tyler, but I needed to protect James, my older son. Not that he needed protection, but that's a mother's role and job. And obviously, Tyler didn't share what he was experiencing while he was at Rutgers. But as recently, I moved from my home of 31 years. So we had a lot of things to go through. And it was like going through a treasure hunt of trying to find what we wanted to take and what I needed to leave behind and throw away. But part of that, I packed up a lot of papers and boxes of things that I found of Tyler's. And I've only recently, 6 months, 8 months later, started to go through those boxes. And the Tyler that I knew is not the Tyler that I was reading on these pages. And that, to me, was the pain of being in a closet, the pain of not being able to share who you were or are with the people that love you the most. And that pain was huge. And of course, there wasn't much documentation, but the few pages, seeing how utterly broken and in such pain and anger at times that Tyler was experiencing just breaks my heart. And I just hope that no other parent has to do that or experience that, which is why I think it's important to have these difficult conversations. And it's important for adults and parents to recognize their own biases and maybe whatever they're not talking about for whatever reason needs to be identified. I do know part of our journey is that we were going to a very loving and a community, a faith community that really truly did hold us up and support us in our deepest, darkest grief moments. But sadly, they were also a community that could not support our entire family because they did speak occasionally some harmful messages, some unaffirming messages. And they spoke even more to I believe now in hindsight, in youth group and in Sunday school than I was even hearing or aware of. Because of things that I found of Tyler's and things that now I talk with my older son about. And that's what's really important, is to know where you're bringing your children. You know, I am certainly a person of deep faith. God helped me throughout this entire journey that I've now placed on. And it's not about losing your faith at all. It's about embracing the love of God and the life and the hope that God offers, and in supporting your child, because God would never ask someone to turn away from their child. You know, he's or he or she, however you want to think of God. God is a big entity. It's hard to put a small pronoun on him. But yeah, I would be my message to parents would be to show your love constantly, especially by having conversations and making a safe space for your child to come out into.
Well, I thank you for sharing that, because I really do believe that parents have to go through this journey. Obviously, we know, along with their children, and hearing, you know, how other parents have supported is obviously a helpful model for others. So part of what you were
after the fact that parents need to come out as well.
Yeah.
Because one of the places I spoke early on, I don't even remember much of it, but what I do remember is that a young man, younger than me, but someone in his 30s or 40s, came up to me after and said, "That's so true. You know, my parents, my mom especially, talks always about my other brother and his wife and his family and his children, but I never hear her mention anything about myself and my partner." At the time, this person had a partner, to their friends, you know, to the mom's friends. So it is a process. We all need time to come out. I mean, an individual needs their own time to come out, and then they need to grant others time as well, if that's possible.
Well, I love that hearing, you know, that it is a process for the whole family to come out, you know, in their space, and having organizations like yours helps support them to do that, for sure. So tell us a little bit about your Upstander program. I know that obviously, you know, we all have a role to be able to help create safe, accepting spaces and supportive environments, whether they're at school or home or anywhere in our communities, for our LGBTQ youth. So could you talk to us a little bit about your program and how we can become part of it?
Sure. It's a very simple, but we feel effective initiative. And that is that one of the things that we saw with Tyler was that many people saw what was happening and no one spoke up. No one tried to interfere or interrupt the situation. No one tried to ask Tyler how he was doing. And then as I was learning more about bullying, I realized that it's actually a very common phenomena, that there are usually almost, I don't know, statistically, I think they said 80 to 90%, but I think it's even more, since it's a power imbalance and the one person wants to feel better than the other. Than the other person. And how are you going to do that without bystanders, without having people watch and see? So we wanted to turn those passive bystanders who were watching, who were seeing, into active upstanders. And so we've created, it was one of our very first initiatives, we created an Upstander pledge that you could go online and read through it and then put your name to it. And we actually were on a million Upstander movement we started in the fall of 2018, and we wanted to reach 1 million upstanders for Tyler's 10th anniversary of his passing this fall of September of 2020. And we did, we reached 1 million people, but I realized that it's a continual decision. It's not a one and done, you sign your name, because every situation you need to make that decision that I'm going to be an upstander. And it's simple. We never ever want anyone to come into harm's way. But if you know the people involved and it's, maybe just a verbal harassment or intimidation or bullying incident, calling it out, interrupting it somehow. If it's use of words, homophobic words or racial slurs, calling it out and saying, those aren't funny, we don't accept those words here. If it's, and people are humiliated in front of other people all the time for many reasons, body size and shape, religion, language they speak at home, whatever it is, it's universal. So maybe it's just coming besides that person, if it's to youth and someone's being targeted, and walking them away from the aggressor, bringing them someplace else, or just intervening yourself into the situation by changing the conversation or the topic. Also, if that doesn't work and the behavior isn't changed, or if you don't feel safe, and especially in youth, with youth, it's really important to report it to a trusted adult. There are trusted adults in school environments, especially with LGBTQ students. You never want to out someone, but there are many schools, especially in Bergen County, there are gay straight alliances in your school. There are teachers that identify as safe, trusted people. And if you have someone's best interest at heart, you need to report it. You need to know what should be kept private and what needs to be revealed. Anyone that indicates to you that there's some type of self-harming behavior happening or planning to be occurred, or if someone talks about being really sad or not wanting to be in school, those are the conversations that need to be happening with teachers, with an administrator, with a trusted adult, maybe a non-professional in the school, whoever is trusted. And of course, the third most important way to be an upstander is to reach out to the target, see how they're doing, make sure they know where their resources are. Because as I've learned in my really dark time after Tyler passed, you often, when you're in that dark space, don't see the resources that you have available to you. And it's not as clear for the person who's in that deep fog. So make sure they know where the resources are. Tyler had resources at school, at Rutgers. He had resources at home, but you just don't see those resources and things get very cloudy. So reach out to the person being targeted. And we then see that being an upstander means so much more than even just intervening in a bullying situation, but we kind of coined it, you need your good listening ears and eyes to observe. And, bullying happens not only with two youth on a playground or in a classroom or in the digital world, but it also happens with legislative inequalities as well as with faith-based bullying as well. So it's a broad topic. We started out simple and it is growing. So please go to our website and pledge to be an upstander, and consider it every time you encounter your life in day-to-day situations.
Well, we have on the screen the link where you can go to, and we'll be putting it in the comments so that you can pledge to become an upstander. And we do encourage you to also read all of the wonderful information that's on the Tyler Clementi Foundation page, and share it with the people in your life. And it's wonderful and interesting to hear how your upstander work has evolved over time into these new spaces, and how you continue to support. So you mentioned bullying. Can we talk a little bit about your Day One campaign and how the goal of it is to impact bullying?
Sure. So once we had started and established our upstander pledge, we realized that we wanted to go a little further upstream, and we wanted to prevent bullying before it even happens. Because once you have that painful experience, you're permanently scarred, and usually people carry that with them forever through life. And we wanted to make sure to prevent that from happening in other people. So we created an innovative research-based tool that can enable schools or workplaces, we've expanded to workplaces too, to stop bullying before it even begins. And it's a very simple initiative. Again, it's something that you go to our website, you download a script to help you along, but it's really about setting boundaries within a space or community. We started it with schools, classrooms, and having a leader, because change can happen from the bottom up as being an upstander, or from the top down with leaders declaring and creating safe spaces. So So wouldn't it be amazing if every student on the first day could hear a teacher or a principal in a larger gathering state that in this school we value everyone. Everyone is important. Everyone, whatever their difference is, we value them. It doesn't matter your body shape or size. It doesn't matter what language you speak at home. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation or your gender identity. Whatever makes you special and precious, we value you here. And it sets a clear boundary that we don't accept homophobic language here or racial slurs. We don't accept anyone to be targeted here or humiliated. And we think it's easy and simple. And then you get an acknowledgement back from the group that they understand. It's not a magic wand, but it sets the boundaries. And it's great for the aggressor to know that this behavior isn't going to be tolerated here. And it's not the way to get acknowledgement or attention in this space. But I also think it's a really important thing to hear if you're the marginalized student or person in this group or community, that you're valued and you're going to be protected and it's going to be safe here. And that's why we encourage that all teachers declare their classrooms a day one safe space, whether their classroom is meeting in person or now in the virtual world. All students need to hear from their teachers that they are a valued member of the class. And I think it's not only important to hear it, but to see it. So have visual reminders of what is acceptable and what is not, and a visual reminder of, that this is a safe space. And also because when somebody does cross the line, you can point to it and say, remember, we're a safe, day one safe space here. You're not going to use that type of behavior. You're not going to use that language. I think it's just making sure that every student feels safe and that they will never be exposed to being humiliated in the classroom is an important reminder. And it's important for the adult or the teacher or the leader to read through the script themselves, because they can identify their own biases within reading the script, calling out who is going to be accepted in this space and making sure you carry that out and don't turn a blind eye to bad behavior or poor language or word choice.
Well, we will have the link here so that hopefully our educators that are watching and all the parents can reach out to their schools and make sure that their teachers are participating in this campaign. So obviously you spent a lot of time working with youth and teens and young adults, and I know that you started the Youth Ambassador program, which is so exciting. Can you talk a little bit about that so our viewers can learn how to get involved?
Sure. We did about 3 years ago start an online program called Youth Ambassadors. It was always created online because we are located here in our offices are in New York City. I am personally in New Jersey, but we wanted to have a national presence, and this way, by having it online, we could have young people, mostly high school age. We have had a few freshmen in college and older 8th graders as well participate over the years. But it's an educational program, and it fosters awareness around these difficult issues such as discrimination and power dynamics and abusive behavior or microaggressions and cyberbullying. And it also helps then the youth to learn how to identify how and why bullying is happening in their schools and in their environments that they are living in, and helping them to work together with their peers to develop change-making campaigns to implement in their schools or their communities. And some are even focusing their actions in the digital world, on the digital, even in some are working in social media platforms as well, sending out messages of positivity and making sure these conversations are continued, and encouraging others to take the Upstander pledge, because everything kind of points back always to the Upstander pledge and being an Upstander. And the beauty of the online program is we have now divided it into 2 cohorts, and you meet online, you get an individual time with our program manager, and you also do a group session so you can meet together. And what happened about a year ago was 2 of the youth ambassadors just happened to be from Bergen County, New Jersey, and they wanted to they've been trained, so they trained the trainer, and now they created an offshoot of the youth ambassadors to something called the Day One Bergen County Day One Ambassadors. Bergen County ambassadors. So they're doing the same thing, but in person. They were meeting up until February in Upper Saddle River. They had reached out to all the schools in Bergen County. They had gotten about a 35-person cohort. Now they too have moved online, of course, with the way things are in these days. Everything is happening online, which is a good thing. We're using the cyber world for good that it was intended and created for, because it was intended and created for good. It's just how we use it, the people, and how we bring our own characters into the cyber world. So wow. Yes, it's exciting. We have a lot of stuff happening. If you're interested, we have 2 cohorts a year, one in January-ish, and the application becomes online in January. It starts in February, and when the application is in August, and the cohort started just in September. So it's an amazing program. If you're interested in connecting with like-minded people who want to do good in this world and create a change and a shift towards good, I would encourage anyone in high school to join us.
Well, we, as our viewers know, these links are coming up in the comments. Please connect to the links so that you can connect to these wonderful programs. And I do think that it's just wonderful that cyber is being used for good through your organization. And so, can you tell us a little bit? I know that this time of COVID has been hard on nonprofits, and has created challenges. It also, there's so many inspiring stories to hear how we have used technology to be able to further our messages and impact. But can you tell our viewers how they can support your organization? Obviously, they can get involved in all of these great programs, but what are some other opportunities that they can get connected and support you?
Yes, so there are many opportunities, certainly to be an upstander. I always say using social media for good is an excellent way to do that. So that means for us to follow our tweets and to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook and Instagram. I think you get in front of more people, the more likes you have, the more comments you have, the more shares you have. So please help us spread our message by just amplifying it on social media. That's a huge impact for us and help for us. As well as we've had some fundraising events now in the digital world as well. We just had one last month. And of course, donations are always graciously received and help us amplify our message and continue the great work we're doing. That is always something that's hard to ask for sometimes, at least for myself, but it's a necessity to continue the work. And please write to us if you have any questions, and view our website and check us out. And we are doing adding content constantly, especially we've started doing a blog monthly on classroom safety, and then a blog monthly on mental health awareness. My older son, James, is actually writing that. He went back to school for his degree in mental health counseling. So he is helping us with that initiative, as well as we are working. Currently, our True Faith Doesn't Bully initiative is writing letters to the Southern Baptist Conference, sharing the great pain and harm that some of their teachings have caused in some people. And we will hopefully be expanding that into a few other faith groups that also share non-affirming messages. But we have a different letter every week, so go and check us out. I'd appreciate that.
Yes, so folks, as you can see, we have all the platforms, so you can connect to the Tyler Clementi Foundation, whether it's through Facebook or Instagram. Again, I'll say it for her since I know it's hard to say, but donate, donate, donate. None of us can do this work without the funds to be able to support. You can easily donate safely from home. You don't have to go to the post office, just go to the websites, and there'll be an easy opportunity there. It's important, as you can hear, this foundation has evolved significantly, over these years, and has had such tremendous impact and continues to have impact. And it can only do that from volunteers and donations and support for the community. So as we close out, Jane, this is obviously time a lot of parents are home with their kids and, have the opportunity to be having a lot of conversation and time together in a different way than, maybe they've had before. When you think about those conversations, what do you want parents to be talking about with their children right now?
I think there are many conversations they should be having, certainly about cyber safety, which we also have a cyber safety guide for parents and children, youth, to help those conversations along. I would also encourage conversations around differences, and how we need to celebrate and reach out to those who are different from us. I think that is a great starting point. I think if we can find commonalities in people and not focus solely on the difference, and we can learn how to bridge our gaps and be good leaders, and share our own journeys with our children as well. I think it's important to lead by example. So I would hope that adults are using their social media platforms wisely and are checking what they are saying in the digital spaces as well. Because if you can't say something to someone's face, you shouldn't say it at all. And if you can't say something positive and encouraging, then I would hope that before you send every message, you would take a breath and reread what you're writing. And if it's not encouraging and building someone up, then I would hope that you would edit your words and change them, or at the very least, and if not, maybe just discard them. So I would hope you would be leading by setting a good example and by celebrating and embracing people who are different from you. I think that's encouraging. I think having these difficult conversations, as I said before, around mental health issues like bullying, suicide, depression, are important to have. I don't think you're going to increase the incidence. I know you're not going to increase the incidence, but you will helpfully break down those barriers. And really making sure wherever you bring your children to worship, that it is an inclusive and welcoming space, because there are many around here in the Bergen County, New Jersey area. I will tell you that. So there is no reason to take a child. You might not think it's going to affect your family, but learn from my hard-learned lessons. It does, and it will. It could.
Well, and the wonderful thing about the Tyler Clementi Foundation is there's so much information that can be provided for you that's age appropriate. We should be having these conversations at every age and stage of a child's life. We talk about this in our world at the YWCA, obviously with consent and our sexual violence work. It's important in this work as well, in these conversations. It's never there's no reason to wait. Start young and give them age appropriate information and continue to support it as they grow into different stages, for sure. Jane, thank you so much for being with us and, being so open and sharing so much information. Those of you watching, we know that everyone in your life is not watching with you, but I'm sure that there's someone that you wish had seen this conversation. Do not despair. This lives on our Facebook page. You can share this broadcast with an individual. You can share it with your entire network through Facebook. You can copy the link and send it out in emails. There's plenty of ways to get the word out, and we really encourage you to do that. That's the point of YWTV, is to make sure that we are getting important messages and information out into our community, and this is a wonderful and important conversation to be sharing. We also hope that you join us later this week. We have a few other important conversations to be had. Tomorrow, I'm going to be welcoming the Workplace Justice Program Director at New Jersey Citizen Action, Yara William Cole, and look forward to talking with him. On Thursday, we continue our Share the Mic Now project, which is focused on amplifying the voices of Black women in our community. And we have attorney and legal expert Angela Barker joining us. And on Friday, We are inviting, and I'm so happy to have Teaneck International Film Festival's Executive Director Jeremy Lentz and Film Director Lucina Fisher join us. As you may know, the YWCA is a proud co-sponsor of the Teaneck International Film Festival. There's 2 films that we are supporting and sponsoring this year, along with some other wonderful organizations in our community. One of them is Belly of the Beast, which is a documentary about medical racism. And that can be seen at the Teaneck International Film Festival on the 24th. And also a short film as well that's earlier in the week. And we encourage you to go see their link and join the film festival. It's a social justice focused film festival, and there's so much to learn with important topics like the one that we're talking about today. Also, just a quick reminder before I leave you, we have for our Girls Empowerment Program, our Jen on the Go, our Girls Empowerment Network is going to be having a virtual etiquette party with Tiffany Kerr from Chic Situations from 7 to 8:30 this Friday evening on November 20th. And we encourage everyone to sign up for our 21-day Racial Equity and Social Justice Challenge. We will have the link in the comments. It's an opportunity for you to learn about race, power, privilege, and leadership, and ways that you can become more mindful of social justice issues and how you can join. There's obviously plenty of places that social justice warriors are needed. Jane needs them side by side for her organization and so many important causes. And it's important for all of our YWCA team wants all of our community to learn how to use their voices so that you can align and support where is needed. Jane, I just want to share, so many of our viewers are just posting so much support for you and the work that you're doing and the impact that you're having. And I'm just trying to see if we have any actual, let's see, questions there. No, we're good. We've got just lots of wonderful praise. And we again encourage everyone to go to the Tyler Clementi Foundation social media pages and go to their website. Please think about signing your children up to be part of the Youth Ambassador Program. Talk with them, and please connect interested teams there. Connect more to the Day One campaign, the Upstander program. Make sure you're talking to the teachers in your school district and asking them to claim your classrooms a safe space. And any questions that anyone has, Jane's wonderful team and Jane and her husband and their foundation are there to support. We hope everyone has a fabulous day, and we thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you, Jane. Thanks so much. Be well.